I think I finally understand the power of the dog.
Isn't he so sweet? That's my boy!
What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. The Power of the Dog is hitting Netflix a little bit later on this year. I was able to check this movie out early. Of course, I'm attending the New York Film Festival right now. We have movies like Dune next week, so stay tuned for that. But right now, I was really excited for this film. Some Oscar buzz, but is the buzz warranted? Let's talk about it. Charismatic rancher Phil inspires fear and awe in those around him. When his brother brings home a new wife and her son, Phil torments them until he finds himself exposed to the possibility of love. The word that came to mind as soon as this movie hit its credits was haunting. This is not only a haunting character study, but we're dealing with so many different things here, from masculinity to reserving and withholding emotion, not even realizing that you have certain emotions. There's just so much to what this movie stands for, but on its surface, right, this is a Western on Netflix with some big-time stars. We've got Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons and Benedict Cumberbatch, and all of these performances are great in their own way, and we'll talk about that. But in terms of what this story actually is, there's a lot of symbolism. We're dealing with a ton of subtext here, and just things that you have to sit on, think about, right? I saw this movie a couple of hours back, and I'm still just processing it, thinking about it. I had to wait even longer than I normally do to do this review because I feel like, and even I feel like another viewing will help this film settle a bit better because it's just not what I was expecting. And oftentimes, when we come out of a movie that we think is going to be one thing, like your classic, somewhat hardcore, maybe action-packed Western, and we get something a lot different, very dialogue-heavy, and characters that are going through things that don't really come to light until the third act, well, that can be extremely jarring, and it was for me at first. I will admit, the first act, I was trying to get in tune with what this movie was, right? Wonderful performance from Benedict Cumberbatch, especially when we start to realize the feelings, what his character is trying to do. So much aggressiveness from him at the beginning. He feels this anger towards Plemons' character, and he has it out for Kirsten Dunst in this movie. And sorry, I'm not calling them by their characters' names. Plemons plays George, Kirsten plays Rose, and Benedict Cumberbatch plays Phil. But you also have Cody Smith-McPhee's character of Peter. And Peter is fascinating. He has this love and appreciation for his mother, and you get a voiceover, and I won't say what this narration entails at the beginning, and the entire time the movie was going, I'm like, I don't really understand what that was supposed to mean. And then by the time you get to the end, it all comes back around really full circle, and you're like, oh, okay, so that's what that stands for. And the way that this movie goes out after so many things have shifted and characters have changed their mentalities, but the entire time you have Peter, who is such a, I want to say odd, but somewhat quirky, very straightforward, right? He's not funny. He knows exactly what he wants. I mean, he's studying surgery by ripping apart rabbits in this movie, so a couple of creepy things that happen here and there. So all of these little nuggets, they lead you to kind of understand what this character is, and then what happens at the end of the movie, it really warrants a lot of these slower moments that, again, it may not suck everyone in. It may not grab you because there's just so much happening in terms of subtle detail and nuance as opposed to action, surface level dialogue. He took her and I got to protect him. And don't get me wrong, I love a movie like that. A modern Western, and really a Western in general, but a modern Western like No Country for Old Men, Hell or High Water, that's like my favorite genre that I never get to talk about. But this is not that, right? The Power of the Dog is much more so a character study disguised by being a Western. And I will fully admit, some of the themes in there I still don't entirely understand. There are a couple things that Jesse Plemons' character is doing in the movie, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what are the motivations there? Why is that what is coming from his character? But for the most part, Cumberbatch is the one that just sucks the air out of the room every time he walks in. He shares a moment with Cody Smith-McPhee's character where, I'll just say it involves a cigarette, and the tension, but at the same time, there's this chemistry between numerous characters that I thought was so outstandingly handled. And the real star of this show, as good as Cumberbatch is, I expect an Oscar nomination, but Jane Campion, the director, it's been a long time since she's directed a film. And the way that she captures this unnerving feeling throughout, utilizing characters and themes that we're just not often seeing. And then you get Benedict Cumberbatch to come in and create this force of nature character to where he's going up against, in a way, Kirsten Dunst, who we feel for throughout the entire film, not only because what we see on the surface, but as the movie goes, we see things about her character to where we're sympathetic and we're trying to, understand the why. Ari Wegner, the cinematography, I mean, you have the Western genre to work with here, and oftentimes we see Westerns just look great because you can utilize landscapes and set pieces, and that's exactly what he does. The movie looks amazing. There are a couple of shots where the camera is rotating around our characters, and you get really just deep close-ups of their faces, and I'm like, this is making me feel uncomfortable, but in a good way. And then you have Johnny Greenwood composing the score. And we all know movies like There Will Be Blood and The Master, and oh man, this is one of his best. I love the score for this film. It was really, really great. Memorable. It keeps you on your toes when maybe the story isn't entirely locking you in. And that's kind of my biggest criticism with this movie, right? Because it's much more so a character study than anything. You have to keep our attention with nothing but dialogue. And I wasn't fully in on some of the scenes. I wasn't entirely understanding some of the character motivations, which is what keeps me from saying, yeah, The Power of the Dog is easily one of the best movies of the year. I can't quite get it there, even though I think it will be an Oscar contention. And those moments within the screenplay are moments that I still appreciate for what they were trying to do, but I just wasn't as locked in as it wanted me to be. And because a lot of things, it takes until the final scene for it to come to light and come back around, not everyone's going to have the patience for that, and understandably so. It's not a movie that's going to have you fully intrigued, engaged, on the edge of your seat the entire time. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? No. But because you have this incredible cast, and because the direction is just so outstanding, I was definitely locked in. Before I give you guys my score, I want to say thank you so much for joining. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop your thumbs up down below. That will help me get to 100K. We're on our way, folks. Power of the Dog is a chilling Western that showcases Jane Campion's skill set as she balances a complex story. Cumberbatch delivers one of his best performances yet, and the uneasiness he makes you feel throughout is impressive. It's somewhat slow, but very well balanced. I'm going an 80% with my score. Again, it's one of those movies that I feel like I just have to see again to fully comprehend a few of the themes. But overall, I was really impressed, right? It's one of those movies that you kind of have to see and embrace the experience because cinematography, on a technical level, it works so well. So, The Power of the Dog, is this a movie for you? Did you find it boring? Were you not locked into the story? Let me know all of those things down below. Appreciate you big time for watching. Come back, way more reviews coming to this channel. Like I said, more New York Film Festival next week.